Today's conversation is on how to learn faster. We can also say how to learn effectively, how to learn in a fun, flow-based way rather than a stress-based, force-based, boring-based way. Now, you may have heard me mention this before. In 2010, I started teaching speed reading workshops on behalf of Iris Reading while I was building my IT business. I did it for a number of reasons, some of which include developing my communication skills, my sales skills, my public speaking skills, and also my facilitation and teaching skills. I had learned how to speed read in 2005, and also during that time, I would learn how to learn. Learn how to learn. And more specifically, how I learn. You see, when I grew up, I didn't perform according to the standards of the educational system, both in grade school and high school. I actually thought that I was a slow learner. I thought that I couldn't learn effectively. It was very hard for me to comprehend and retain what I was learning and apply what I was learning. Then in 2005, I discovered speed reading, and also I discovered various learning modalities. And I tried them out, one of which includes mind mapping. As you know, I'm a fan of mind mapping. And what happened was I started to learn faster, easier, in a more flow-based way. I actually found that I was interested in learning. I was fascinated by learning. And what I found was that each one of us has our own learning style. And we can discover our own learning style. And as we discover our own learning style, we can even create our own learning system and apply this system to learn faster, learn effectively, and enjoy learning. Because what I believe is that, and this is also as a result of facilitating hundreds of workshops, not just in speed reading, in entrepreneurship, I've done many live and in-person sessions. I also have my flow-based prosperity group coaching and mastermind service. I have been brought into organizations to teach sales, marketing, operations. And what I find is that each person has their own style. Now, some might have similar styles, and some might have different styles. That is actually perfect, because your style of learning is the best style of learning for you. So the first key is to accept that you have your own style. And number two, that you can discover your own style. And number three, consider the following. When I was studying about learning and teaching, I came across Montessori education, the work of Maria Montessori and Montessori schools. And then when I studied how they were teaching, how they were facilitating, I realized that it was very similar, if not exactly the same, as some of the things that I had learned to develop my ability to learn. So there's what you learn and then how you learn. As I was learning how to learn, and specifically how I learn and effectively learn by applying what I learned about how I learn, thus experiencing flow-based learning, learning faster, effectively in a flow-based way. As I recalled what I was doing and looked at the information from Montessori school, I saw the parallels there. I saw the parallels in the various information that I was learning about learning. So I went over to ChatGPT this morning and I asked the question, what are some characteristics, a number of characteristics with respect to Montessori education that we could discuss today based on my experience that would be beneficial for you so that you can learn faster, more effectively, in a flow-based way, your natural style of learning. And it gave me a whole bunch of points here, some of which I would like to explore with you today. And perhaps if you like, we could explore more of these in an upcoming conversation. Now, Montessori students, I recommend reading about Montessori education, Montessori schools, Maria Montessori. Montessori students have been found to display strong executive function skills, which include working memory, cognitive flexibility, and inhibitory control. These skills are key for managing tasks, setting goals, and adapting to changing environments. Adapting to changing environments, which is what we discuss a lot about. A 2017 study published in Frontiers in Psychology found that Montessori students demonstrated higher levels of executive functioning compared to those in traditional schools. So it is worth considering. Let's explore some of the key points that ChatGPT provided, and I would like to relate this over to my personal experience in a way that I trust is beneficial for you. Number one, the curriculum is designed around the child's interests and pace of learning, allowing each child to progress at their own rate. So interests. This is one of the things that I found when I was in school is I couldn't connect how, for whatever the reason may be, what was being taught in school was related to my interests. So my interests at that time was to make money so that I wouldn't be broke, simply put. So that I could buy the car that I wanted, live how I wanted to live, etc. And even though the information provided in school was related, I didn't see the connections. So what I realized is it's very helpful to have a vision, goals that are based on what you truly desire, how you truly desire to live. If you know what it is, and you also discover it, and clarity arises on the journey, I found, what happens is then you can relate to what is being taught, and you could focus on what is relevant in relation to what is being taught, and you can put aside what is not relevant. Maybe it might be relevant later on in relation to what is being taught. And then as a result of doing that, you can find ways of learning, your style of learning, and you'll find it. Why I say that is I found when there was a genuine desire to learn, the ways of how to learn that were ideal for me appeared. Very specifically, while I was in corporate, why I took the speed reading workshops, why I was learning how to learn, was I discovered that there was so much opportunity for me to move up in my career. So much opportunity. And there was so much information. So then I said, well, if I could learn this information, integrate this information, then I would move up faster in corporate. And that's when I discovered my style of learning, and that is what I did. And I started moving up faster. Then in 2009, as you may know, I left and started my own IT business, which I built a success. So, what are you genuinely interested in? I trust you'll notice this, that what you're genuinely interested in, you will tend to move towards. So that is what they do. They discover what the child is genuinely interested in learning. And then from there, they allow space for the child to discover their style of learning. And they take a step back and observe the child and discover different ways of facilitating an accelerated, effective, flow-based way of learning for the child. One of the things I like about this style of learning and teaching and facilitation is student and teacher are one. Student and teacher are one. The teacher is learning about the student and their learning style. The student is learning, and there is a feedback loop. And there's no shaming and condemning, because that is unnecessary. There's no, if the child didn't perform in a way that a person determines the child should perform, there's no shame and condemnation. There's, oh, let's try another approach. Let's apply one of the many, many different learning tools, learning modalities. As a matter of fact, if you're a student of my mind map program, you'll see that I incorporate in there particular learning modalities, techniques, and strategies that I have found that were effective for me. When we used to teach the speed reading workshops, we would incorporate what we found to be the most effective for increasing reading speed, comprehension, and retention. And if you're interested in that, I'll link in the description to a video Paul Novak and I did. He is the founder of Iris Reading. Another point is classrooms are organized to foster independence and freedom with some healthy boundaries. So the goal is for the students to pursue their interests, do what they genuinely desire to do in life, and facilitate learning so they can do what they genuinely desire to do in life and learn the various skills to actualize what they desire to achieve in life. And this is done through lighthearted observation. Rather than force control, they observe the behaviors. Now, there is more nuance to this, and the nuances that I share are based on my personal experience. So I am not a Montessori school teacher, yet I use what is being discussed here as a guide, as a framework when I do my facilitation, when I do my workshops, and I find it to be very effective. As in, the students have fun, they learn fast, they learn effectively, they learn about how they learn, and a lot of them end up discovering that they genuinely love learning, that we genuinely love learning. So now, fostering independence, it's very apparent by being aware about what we think, how we emotionally relate, and our behaviors if we are in an environment that is encouraging flow-based learning. We feel comfortable, we feel accepted, there's no shame and condemnation, there's mutual harmony, and we find that the students don't look around and compare themselves to the other students in a way that is shaming and condemning of themselves. Rather, they are inspired by the other students. As a matter of fact, an interesting dynamic we see playing out is they also become the teacher for the other students, and also they are a student to the other students who act at times in that role of the teacher. So it's a very fascinating dynamic. I facilitate, so you could say I am the teacher, they are the students, yet I also consider them all to be my teacher. Student and teacher are one, and also within the group, they are students and teachers to each other. Those of you that are members of Flow-Based Prosperity can vouch for this. This is what happens within the group. This has been intentionally orchestrated because I have found it to be very effective when it comes to learning faster, when it comes to learning effectively, and also doing it in a fun, joyous, flow-based way, rather than a stress, frustrating, boring way, which does not feel natural. So the environment is set up that way. So I encourage you to choose environments for your learning that are set up in this way to facilitate manifesting your ideal self, your ideal desires that you truly desire to actualize. And if there are skills to be cultivated, then you can learn them in these kinds of environments in a fun, joyous, flow-based way. It says, children of different ages learn together. Wow, I like that. Children of different ages learn together. So I have friends in various age groups, even though I don't believe in the limitations of age. And one of the reasons why includes the fact that you can learn from anyone. To think that if someone is 10 years younger than me and that I can't learn from them, or that I am smarter than them and they can't teach me, is an illusory thought. It's not real. What I recommend doing is acknowledging the fact that you can learn from anyone. Suggest that to yourself. I am now open to learn from anyone, from any age, because age doesn't matter. What does it matter? Beliefs with regards to age can suggest limitation, but those are beliefs. They generate illusions, illusions of lack of understanding of what the person is saying. If those beliefs are released, learning happens. Marvelous learning happens. Same with flow-based prosperity, and also the various workshops that I did on speed reading. And I've also done various workshops on various topics in organizations and business who brought me in to apply what I had done to build my IT business to success over the years. The organizations had people from various ages. And what was fun was to also set up that dynamic while I was facilitating. There was no shame and condemnation, and there was no unnecessary barriers. And everybody's experiences were appreciated because everybody has wonderful life experiences that can be brought into the discussion, the conversation, into the learning experience. Children are encouraged to take responsibility for their own learning and choices. Now, this is a nuanced point that I would like to share with respect to taking responsibility. It is not done in a way where we shame and condemn the student because we think that they didn't learn, or they didn't learn in a particular way, or they're doing something in a way that is not appropriate, etc. Rather, we apply what I refer to as feel, felt, found, which is something that I learned in sales, which essentially is, I know how you feel. I've been there before. Here's what I found. It's an exploratory conversation. And the child or the person learning feels accepted. They feel understood. They're not gaslighted for their experience. They're not shamed or condemned. The facilitator demonstrates a deep level of understanding and compassion. And from that sure foundation, which is love, happiness, peace, bliss, fulfillment, unconditional self-acceptance, what arises is the student discovers ways to optimize what they're doing. And it may involve conversations of different ways it can be optimized. For example, in business, let's say one of my clients ran a marketing campaign and it didn't go the way they planned. I say, that's fine. And they may look at me, because this is maybe the first time they've heard someone say that. And they're like, what do you mean it's fine? I clearly messed up. And I said, you didn't mess up. Let's explore. And so what ends up happening then is I may share some stories of how I ran some marketing campaigns or did something in my business, and it didn't go the way that I planned, yet there was an opportunity to learn in that moment so that I could optimize what I was doing, and through the optimizations, then create successful marketing campaigns. And also, what I learned was about how I learned. So what happens with my clients is we look at various ways that they could optimize based on my experience, and also consulting with and working with thousands of businesses over the years. And also we discuss how they could learn faster and also more effectively. So what we do is we look at what they can do next time, which they're learning that. We then go on to optimize what they do, and also we may end up optimizing how they went about learning, which can include various learning techniques, maybe incorporating something like mind mapping, looking at how they take notes and optimizing their note-taking, looking at what they believe regarding the learning experience. Like, for example, if I see the pattern of shaming and condemning themselves if things didn't go according to plan, I'm aware that that shame and condemnation is a result of beliefs. And it could be beliefs surrounding learning. And what we do is we release identification to those beliefs. And what they find is they enjoy learning. And if they find that it doesn't go according to plan next time, they actually get excited because they have found opportunities to optimize. And then through the optimization, they achieve the desired result. And also, they learn how to learn. And then a lot of times when I mention to them that there are different styles of learning, and we're talking about what we're talking about here in conversation with them, discussing this, they say they didn't know it. They didn't know that you could learn how to learn. And they didn't know that there was different kinds of learning styles outside of what they learned in school or how they were taught at home, from friends, from different classrooms and workshops that they have attended, etc. Actually, I don't think that I have even scratched the surface of all the possible ways that a person can learn more effectively. And here's the beautiful thing when it comes to learning faster and more effectively, is you don't have to do all those things. So to recap thus far, if you are genuinely interested in something, you'll tend to learn that a lot easier. Number 2, set up an environment that encourages learning. And if done in a group dynamic, set up an environment that encourages learning in the participants and also has a facilitator who is facilitating in a way that encourages seeing the student and teacher as one. That means no shame and condemnation. And also encouraging everyone who brings to the discussion anything that didn't go according to plan for optimization. And also is able to discover the distinct styles of learning of each individual and encourage their distinct style of learning, and also encourage with the other participants, the teacher and student are one dynamic. And by taking responsibility, I recommend, is never done from a belief of shame and condemnation. For example, when we teach public speaking, a person may go in front of the audience and they could appear to be visibly nervous. They may have illusory thoughts of separation, shame and condemnation appearing in mind, and they may be experiencing emotional reactivity. In the room, while we're facilitating, or as they share the experience, we always say, that's fine. So if I'm in the room and they're doing the presentation, I let them be. I accept them the way they are. And we can say that they feel that. They feel that there's no shame and condemnation, that they are accepted, and they release the emotions. We can call that transferring the state, the mental state, if you would like. They release the emotions, they don't identify with the illusory thinking, and their body language starts to flow. And they communicate naturally, and they apply what they have learned as far as what they chose to implement in public speaking. Maybe it's communicating in a particular way or going with a particular format, etc. Now, let's say they share with me after the presentation that they were nervous. I am aware of the different aspects. So I like to work with the Robert Dilts logical levels. I'm aware of what to optimize in the environments, capabilities, which are the skills, the behaviors, the values and belief, the identity, and the vision. And through optimization, and also as I facilitate the optimizations, I also discuss the Robert Dilts logical levels with them and various other relevant learning and teaching modalities so they could see and understand what I do so that they can do it themselves as well. And so what happens is they discover their style of learning, which may or may not include the Robert Dilts logical levels. It could end up using a different model. We discover, because I have access to thousands of models, what is a model that is helpful for them. Yet the freedom is there. The flexibility is there. The responsibility is gladly taken. And why I recommend this also is, let's say if a facilitator shames or condemns their student, they may develop a belief which you can say is a belief of disdain for learning, a belief of learning is frustrating, it's hard, which is unnecessary. Learning is something that we naturally do, and so we can do it in a natural way, is what's being pointed to. So with respect to that, Montessori education promotes discovery-based learning, where students learn concepts by exploring and experimenting, rather than being given direct, let's say, dogmatic instructions. Do it this way or you fail. You need to do it this way. You must do it this way or it won't work. There are infinity ways that it can work. One way is not necessarily better for one student. It may be better for another student, but to imply that you have to do it in this way may result in the student shaming and condemning themselves because they genuinely tried to do it that way. It didn't work for them that way. And so they may think that there's something wrong with them. And there's nothing wrong with them. They just have not discovered their style of learning. So we can actually continue this exploration in the upcoming videos if you'd like to know more about my experiences with facilitation. And speaking of which, I had mentioned in Tuesday's video, Danielle, Lynn, and I are doing an event together in Los Angeles where we are facilitating flow-based living, flow-based relationships, flow-based business, career. We can also discuss flow-based learning, actualizing what you desire in life, discovering what you truly desire, actualizing what you truly desire in a flow-based way. If you're interested in that, Danielle is also masterful at flow-based transformation facilitation. I have witnessed it and experienced it myself. We're doing an event in Los Angeles on November 23rd. If you're interested in that, I will link in the description to the page, and we would love to see you at the event. So we can explore more points here. I have a few pages of points that ChatGPT provided, which was very precise and accurate. And what I'd like to do is discuss these points with you rather than read them out loud. That way I could share my personal experiences and nuances in a way that will be beneficial for you. And you can take, keeping with the theme of effective learning, what you feel inspired to integrate from this and test it. See how it goes. And then from there, we can optimize accordingly. So now let's conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. You could say, I listen to myself and I trust myself and I discover what I truly desire to actualize in my life. Thus, the skills, the capabilities that are part of actualizing my vision can also be actualized in a fun, joyous, desirable, flow-based way. As I acknowledge this truth, I discover ways are revealed of my style of learning, which feels natural, authentic, fun, and joyous, and also happens to be in harmony with those that I learn with, which includes facilitators, students, as I acknowledge that the student and teacher are one.